In 1966, the Chicago Bears drafted the son of a Pennsylvania coal miner in the 4th round. Doug Buffone would go on to play 15 seasons for the Bears and later be named one of the 100 greatest Bears of all time. His allegiance to the Bears never waned, even when he took to the microphone and witnessed some horrendous Bears teams.
The fact is, there's not the fear put into them, because this game is a lot about fear. You either do the job, or you go home and go sell hamburgers at McDonald's.
Doug told it like it is, and that's part of the reason his nephew John has dedicated this show to Doug. And now John Buffone is spreading Buffone-branded beratements just like his uncle.
Win the football game. You're the head coach. I don't care what you have your fingers in. I don't care what you're meddling in. You're the head freaking coach. We get it. You're the most important guy on the staff. You don't have to keep trying to legitimize that.
And he's got pep talks too.
I love this team. And I know everyone watching and listening loves this team. So while we may be pessimistic and cynical, every one of us still has hope that the stars will align at some point. And if that ever does happen, you'll be glad you stuck around.
John is telling it like it is here on Buffone 55. And joining John are Alyssa Barbieri, managing editor of USA Today's NFL Wires, including Bears Wire, and also Danny Shimon, lead game and draft analyst for the Barroom Network. Buckle up and bear down. This is Buffone 55, The John Buffone Show.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Buffone 55, The John Buffone Show. My name is Alyssa Barbieri, and I am the managing editor of USA Today's NFL Wires, including Bears Wire. I'm filling in for John Buffone, who is taking some time off tonight, but I must warn you, I'm incapable of producing bulging veins out of my neck or perfectly timed 55-second rants. But don't worry, John will be back soon to do that and more. So our show tonight is going to be a little different. My two counterparts, Danny Shimon, the Barroom's lead football and draft analyst, and Aldo Gandia, the podfather in the flesh, are here to discuss the team's latest heartbreaking loss to the Cleveland Browns, preview Chicago's upcoming game against the Arizona Cardinals, and we're also going to be handing out some Christmas presents in the spirit of the holidays. So guys, are you ready to get this started?
I am ready, and somebody's asked, is John Buffone okay? Yes, he's fine. He just needs a couple of weeks off to tend to some personal business, but he's absolutely fine. I am ready for this, Alyssa, and I got to tell you, listening to that open and listening to John, his passionate rants, it's weird doing this show without that voice, right? Without that Buffone voice that we've been doing for 7 years. Unbelievable.
Something is just missing. I mean, we miss John dearly, and we can't wait to welcome him back. But it does feel a little weird, especially coming off of this game against the Browns, where those rants, they were going to be something epic.
Yeah. Listen to the big vein. I'm sure that big vein was popping out.
The veins. I don't have that, guys. I could try, but yeah, I don't want. That's John's thing. So
Cliff asked if I fired John on Christmas week.
The Bulls, they fire all their head coaches on Christmas week. Right?
That's right.
John's flying, to Chicago to make sure he's there for the Cardinals game so that they win. No.
There you go. That would be nice. But I gotta ask Danny, you could do the bulging veins thing, man.
Oh, no, I like John. John's vein looks like a freeway. It's like clear coming out of his neck, man. It's like the Incredible Hulk when he turned green. It's like the big vein. I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
So this show is going to be a little different tonight, everybody. So we're going to kick it off with this. So obviously Sunday's game against the Browns, another blown fourth quarter lead for Chicago. The third time that this has happened under Matt Eberflus this season, which is tied for an NFL record. Of course, all of these worst under Matt Eberflus. So I have a question. Was Sunday's game against Cleveland an indictment against the Bears coaching staff? And do you now completely endorse the Bears moving on from head coach Matt Eberflus and his staff? Aldo, let's start with you.
Oh, I was hoping you start with Danny.
I think you know where I stand. I think I'm very clear on where I stand.
Go ahead, Danny. You go ahead.
You have the floor.
Well, I mean, I've been endorsing the firing of the staff since week 3. I mean, I'm not a Matt Eberflus fan. I'm not a fan of his staff. I think I've said that from day one. I think I've been steady on that. I mentioned on this past week's post game show on Bear Football, where I throw out there, like, the last couple of weeks, with the turn in the defense and some of the way that the players are playing firm, I'm like, is this something where it could probably be fixed if you bring in an offensive coordinator opposite of Eberflus and him calling the defense, someone who can get creative with the talent on a team, and could this be something that projects his team to multiple playoff victories, so on and so forth. And after thinking about it and just kind of going back and forth and just looking at the body of work, the entire body of work, I am not confident that Matt Eberflus. I'm confident if he's my defensive coordinator. I'm just not confident if he's my head coach. I just don't. And when I mean that is, I don't see this man leading this team to the next step. Right. Well, next step is being division champions and then winning a playoff game. And I just go back to the week 1 where they just look like they're unprepared and just look like they're just lethargic versus the Packers and in a big home game against your rival. Week 1, how are you not prepared for that? And then, kind of that things kind of continue with the offense kind of looking the way it looked, bogged down and broken. It took Justin speaking up finally for them to kind of say, all right, let's do what we do best here with Justin and get some points on the board and get some creativity going. And I think if you're going to do a change, whether it's a quarterback or any other in the position or in an organization, this is a very, very pivotal offseason for Chicago Bears. This offseason, if this goes bad, it'll set your franchise back for 5 years. So this is where, if you are going to go out there and you are going to make a change, whether it's a quarterback or within the organization and head coach and all that stuff, you do a clean slate, you bring in everybody new. Now, you can save Ryan Poles if you want. I've been a critic of this as well, but I think he's done enough to kind of merit to keep his job. I think you just bring in a new head coach. If you're going to go with the quarterback or keep Justin, which is what I'm proposing to do, is bring in a head coach that can come in and not only just coach Justin or whatever quarterback you have here on the offense, but be a leader of men, be that man in the room that John and I have talked about before. Someone that you're confident they can take this team to the next level. I just unfortunately don't think Matt Eberflus and his staff is that coaching staff. And I think this is the offseason to go ahead and make that complete change, cut ties, and move on.
I've been thinking about every possible reason to try to get rid of Matt Eberflus because I'm not a huge fan. Now, the resurgence of the defense has given me hope that perhaps he could grow into a head coach. But here's my problem. This performance against Cleveland and the mistakes that are attributable to him, directly to him, and we'll be showing one of the plays where we know for sure this was a play call that he did late in the game that allowed Cleveland to pick up a first down on 3rd down and 15. These mistakes are attributable to him, and he knows. He knew that coming into these last few games, he had to perform at an elite level, and he let us down. He let us down with the play calling. He while he had a good game plan for most of the game, there were execution issues that start with the head coach and trickle down. And so how can you trust him in a playoff game, an NFC championship game, a Super Bowl game, if he is making these mistakes now during the regular season when the pressure is on and he's fighting for his job? How can you confidently say, we're in good hands with him during this playoff game if we've managed to back into it? Because right now it just doesn't look good for him. Now, I won't make my final call on whether he should go or not until after these 2 games, because there could be something that could change my mind. But at this point, if the season ended today, right now, I'd be calling him into my office and I'd be saying, thank you for everything. I wish you and your family the best of luck, but please get the fuck out of here. Oh, sorry.
Couldn't have said that any better.
I have a couple questions, Aldo, but Alyssa, I want to hear your take first.
Yeah, no, but I'm also curious too, like Aldo, like when you're like something could change your mind. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think like, last week and like we had a whole bunch of optimism on this show last week, which was really weird, right? And it all was dependent on the outcome of this game. And it would have been one thing if they were competitive throughout the game and they lost a close one because that happens in the NFL. But the way that they continue to lose, it's the same way. When you have so many of these historic and franchise worsts, you know what I mean? Like franchise and NFL worse. I mean, in 2 seasons, it's rough. And the way that they continue to lose. Last week, I was entertaining the idea of him coming back as head coach next year, right? Because obviously, dependent on Justin Fields as he continues to improve, I was here to run it all back, right? And now I'm iffy. I'm more like, let's just clean house now. I've seen enough. It's like just when I'm starting to trust him, he goes back to the same old Matt Eberflus ways, and they continue to lose in the same way. It would be one thing if this was his first season, because we were giving him and we were giving Luke Getsy those excuses, giving that last year when it was their first season. But now it's a different ballgame, and like Danny was saying, it could set your franchise back now. But I do think when you look to the future, you have to get everyone on the same timeline. I do feel like if you do move on from Matt Eberflus, you're probably moving on from Justin Fields, even though I would like to bring him back. But at this point, if I had to make the decision now, I would say let's just clean house, get rid of him. But I am curious to Aldo, like, what is the thing that could change your mind as for why the Bears should retain him next year?
Well, it would be the performance of the team. If you get these guys for these last 3 games to go out there and play at a high level, win all 3 games, the offense is starting to run, then you have to start to wonder okay, this is taking longer than it should be, but I can understand because of the injuries in camp, because of the new roster and getting people together, and because of HR issues with a couple of coaches and so forth. There was a lot of things up against him, things that he's to blame for, and the general manager is to blame for, because when the general manager approved the head coach and the coordinators, he didn't have any thought whatsoever on succession planning in case somebody got sick, one of the coordinators got sick, or, heaven forbid, an accident or getting arrested or something. I don't know. It could have been anything, but that's on Pose. But it's also on Eberflus because he selected these people of questionable character and endorsed them for the job. So I do think that the performance of the team over the next 3 games could have a determining factor, but it would have to be almost 3 flawless performances, especially against Green Bay in the season finale.
And for me, Aldo, that was one of the questions I had, and Alyssa asked it was what in these last 3 games for you would make you change your mind? Because whether they win the 3 games or even if they lose all 3 games, it's the man is who he is, right? He's not. Doesn't give me confidence. It doesn't sound like he gives you confidence in terms of taking this organization to the next level, right? And being that man that can lead them to the division titles and all that stuff. So, but the other thing for me is, and everyone talks about the improvement of the defense, and yes, the defense has improved under him. There's no doubt about it. They're one of the better run defenses in the league. His design pressures have been working. They've been creating turnovers. That's great, but still. And I've been harping on this on here, and I've been after the postgame show, and now finally the media is picking up on it. Three double-digit leads in the 4th quarter, and his defense, him called these defense, and they blew these leads. So how great of a defense does he have here? Does he have a good defense? Sure. Does he have a great defense? No. Can you bring another defensive coordinator that can run a 4-3 and be just as successful? Yes. But the thing is, overall, as a head coach, can he lead this team and be successful? And I have no faith in him and being able to do that. And the other thing with him is just when he's up there, he's just always wishy-washy. He never gives and I'm not saying spill the beans and give everything, all the secrecy and all that stuff, but it just doesn't give you confidence in terms of how he's responding to the media. You need someone up there that, look at Mike Tomlin, right? Up there, he tells that he might, he won't tell you everything, but he'll at least be direct. He'll tell you what he's on his mind and how he's going to fix things, or at least have an idea on how he's going to fix things. Also, the other thing was with Eberflus, a lot of people give him credit for was the fact that this team kept fighting through all the adversity early on, and he went on this little mini, 2-game streak here and all that stuff. But now after the game on Sunday, you hear defensive players questioning the play calling. It's something that looks like it wasn't just a one-time thing. there's something that's been building up inside them. So this is maybe multiple, seasons, couple of seasons now, multiple games that they're just aggravated. And finally that game just kind of broke it. And like we saw leaders from Eddie Jackson to Justin Jones to some of the other players, question in terms of, why certain plays were called and why, coaches don't trust them or something like that. I forgot how they was put out there, but it was the first like chink in that armor that this guy might not have the entire, team following and believing in him. So that could, if that trickles into these next couple of weeks, that could determine, maybe what happens here. But that to me was a telltale sign. It might be a minor thing, who knows? But it just, that to me, that comes out from your leaders on defense because it's been building up, not just because of one game. It's been building up over weeks. So that to me is another tell that maybe this team isn't truly buying into him and really isn't truly into, playing for him, and a change needs to be made.
Yeah, then you have guys like Darnell Mooney and DJ Moore coming out and talking about how they got really complacent and too comfortable in the third quarter. Because, we're just happy to be leading. Like, really? That's the mindset. Yes, crazy. You have a really good defense that, considering how the defense had played over the last few weeks, that probably would have been enough points. But, it's just like when you hear those kind of things, and like Danny was talking about, like the defensive guys coming out and saying that, Matt Eberflus, great defensive coordinator. What he's done with this team, we have given him credit. We will continue to, but his job is head coach.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys both think about why Danny wants Poles gone? John Falsetta is asking.
Well, for me, it's with Ryan Poles, he lost me when he came in and he started rebuilding this team. Secondary back in the defense, right? He started with his first two picks were secondary players, and then this offseason he went and he got linebackers, and then finally, in the drafts in the second and third round started attacking the defensive line. Now he's gone ahead and made that Montez Sweat trade, which has made a huge difference, part of this Bears resurgence, but also going back to the hire of this coach and this coaching staff. Aldo, you made a great point. Poles was hired, I forgot what the date was, but 2 days later, he hired Matt Eberflus. And I think this was another one where it was Bill Polian had kind of urged him to kind of look at Eberflus, and he gave Eberflus a shot. I don't think he went through the entire, process and actually picked that coach that he was going to comfortable with. But again, Aldo made a great point where he brought in a first-time, head coach, and Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator, and then a first-time offensive play caller, and then a first-time quarterback coach, and there was no backup there. So if, God forbid, one of them got sick or hurt, or had to get fired because of HR reasons, there's no one succession plan on there. There was no pre-planning, being prepared for what could happen here with that coaching staff, and I think that's all falls on Poles. Obviously, Eberflus takes a big, huge of it because he brought in those guys, but Poles also plays a big part in that as well. So I think that goes on Poles as well. I think what really broke the dam for me was after that week 3 loss to the KC Chiefs. Again, I don't know if it's the front office. I don't know if who it was in the coaching staff. It's somebody in the league to Jay Glazer that Justin Fields the Bears were not sold on Justin Fields, right? And right there, that to me was greasing the wheels to lay Justin Fields out as the scapegoat for the season that had already started 0-3. And that to me was like, that's dirty. You did this kid dirty, I believe, previous season where you tore down the entire roster, which we know you were going to do, but you gave him nothing to work with. You gave him nothing to work with. You had him go out there, take beating after beating, and basically be the only playmaker on offense for you last year. You come in this year, okay, you get DJ Moore, you make a couple additions to the offensive line, fine. But I just to throw him under the bus like that early on this season, after 3 weeks, to me was doing the kid dirty for a kid that the entire team loves and backs up from defensive players to offensive players. I think that just really set a bad taste in my mouth.
It's been so much easier to throw Luke Getsy under the bus too instead of Fields.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do disagree. J2K agrees with you, Danny, about building from the outside in, that was a mistake. But I agree with Ralph. Do you remember how bad this secondary was before Poles? And he said it at his press conference. He said when we evaluated the 2021 team, we saw that the secondary was a shambles, and we needed to fix that. And then when you add, if he is really paying attention to his board, if he's got a cornerback ranked at 22, and the next defensive lineman or next person in the trench is at 28, 35, and so forth, and there's other players that could put that the value isn't that big of a disparity down at 40 or 50, then you have to pay attention to the board. That's our highest graded guy, Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker. To me, you got to do it.
I agree. I agree in terms of not overdrafting guys. It's because of fill a position need. That totally is 100%. I'm on board with you. But you tore down this roster, but you can bring in veteran free agent. You can bring in guys that can come in and help compete. This defense is predicated on your front four getting to the quarterback. Without that front four getting to the quarterback, this defense sucks, right? And then you go ahead and you draft the secondary guys, which I didn't agree with, but whatever. You got your secondary guys, but then supplant the defensive line with some veteran free agents. Some guys, I'm not saying go break the bank for the high price free agents and all that stuff. I'm just saying bring in guys that can be, solid players, that because this defense is built on the front four. So basically what you're saying is I'm going to build from the back front, right? Go from the secondary to the front and not care what my defensive minded head coach runs or wants. That's to me like, and I'm always going to be the guy that I attack the trenches, right? I always want my offense and defensive lines to be stout. I've said it before. If your offense and defensive line suck, your team sucks. And I don't care if you have great safeties and great corners, but if you have no front four providing pressure, those corners and safeties are going to be toast. And we saw that early in the year, right? Until Montez Sweat got here, those corners were getting beat. Whether it's Jalen Johnson, whether it's whoever was back there, there were no turnovers were being made, right? The linebackers looked like crap, all right? So, and that's things up. But now you got a guy up front making pressure, providing some of that pressure. And again, Montez Sweat doesn't come available every so often. He wasn't available last offseason, so you strike with irons hot. I get that point, but you got to be able to bring and start building that defensive line. And he didn't do it last draft. He thought he'd start doing a little bit of this draft, and that's where I think as a GM, you got to build your offensive and defensive line first. And that's what was my hope when Poles was brought in here, because he's a former offensive lineman. He would know that, right? He didn't do anything with the offensive line at all in the draft. Waited till the fifth round, start making some picks there, because he didn't address the offensive line there as well. No other free agency. Actually, his best move was towards the end of training camp, where he picked up Riley Reif as a veteran tackle, and he ended up being the best right tackle last year as well. So that really bothered me. It's like you're going to fortify. You have to try and start fortifying this offense, even if it's for 1 year. At least put a presence out there that can help your defensive minded head coach, and also help these young quarterback that you're trying to supposedly develop or get a gauge on in terms of if is he the guy or not. So that to me was malpractice in terms of as a GM. Now, he's made some moves, this offseason with the offensive line, shoring some of that up. It looks like you guys got some pieces there in place, right? DJ Moore talked about re-signing Cole Kmet, bringing him on test. So he's made some positive things as the years progress. So, I'm less adamant about getting rid of Poles now than I was back then. But Eberflus, for me, and the staff have to go.
Yeah, no, I agree there. We were talking about addressing those needs, like Aldo was mentioning in the secondary. But my issue was in his first year, too, he was all defense. And he failed to address, like Danny mentioned, obviously the offensive line and receiver last year. And obviously it took a little bit of time, but there was a lot of focus, obviously, on the defense because with Matt Eberflus coming in as well. But I mean, I'm at this point, I'd be okay if they decided to clear house. I'm not on the fire Poles train though, but if that's a decision that Kevin Warren wants to make, I'd be all for it. But I do like that. I'm starting to see Poles' vision. I know we're in year 2 here. I'm starting to see what he's doing. I disagree with like how maybe the steps that he's gone about it, but I want to give him a little bit more time. We're in the second year here. He's acquired some guys. He's starting to hand out contract extensions to some of these guys that are really playing well. Jalen Johnson hopefully is next. But yeah, I'm starting to see when Ryan Pace gets 7 years, I mean, let's give Poles a little more than 2 years, unless that's what Kevin Warren wants to do.
I gotta believe that Ryan Poles made it very clear to George McCaskey that this was going to take a while. This is a rebuild. So the first year, don't expect much, maybe 4 or 5 wins, and they got 3. The second year, you're going to start to see signs of improvement. And we have. I think he deserves to come back to fulfill what he probably pitched, a 3 or 4 year rebuild. And with some luck, he will, see the benefits of some good drafting and some good player personnel decisions, and this team will be a playoff contender next year. I do blame him for a number of things, some of the things we've already talked about. And if in week 17 they lose against the Falcons, or if they lose 2 in a row or 3 in a row now with the Cleveland Browns game, then Ryan Poles needs to show the fans that this will not be tolerated, and he needs to fire Matt Eberflus before the season is over, because there is value in changing coaches. So that way the players, if Justin Fields has a different offensive coordinator for the last game of the season or the last 2 games of the season, at least we can see him perform under a different play caller, a different voice in his ear. So I'm not for those kinds of firings in the middle of the season, but if you're out of the playoffs and you're playing miserably and you're going to start making some changes in the offseason, those changes can and should start before the season is officially over, so that way you can get a taste of what can possibly be.
At the very least, you think we're talking a Luke Getsy being fired at the end of the year if they decide to bring Eberflus back?
Mm-hmm.
At the very least.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's what they're setting it up for now, where Getsy is probably going to be the scapegoat, probably Getsy, and hopefully not, but maybe Justin Fields as well. I think that's what they're going to set up so they can buy themselves some more time. Yeah. Which I think is a mistake. Now I think that's a mistake if that's what they do.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm all for bringing Fields back.
All right, you ready to look at some of the plays from Cleveland's game? You're going to get depressed, and maybe we will see some. Maybe we will see some bulging veins out of you too. All right, so what I did is I selected 4 sequences from last Sunday's game, trying to determine, where did it all go wrong? And there were, of course, a lot of different plays that, attributed to the loss. But I wanted to get everyone's opinions, people in the chat room and everyone here, their thoughts on which was the one play that if you could have back, you think it would have changed the result of the game. All right. I already
have the play, but hopefully let's see if you have it.
Me too.
All right. I've got 4. Now, this first one is a sequence where back-to-back there were dropped interceptions. And I'm telling you, it was really back-to-back.
It's TJ Edwards, number 53. This ball's going to go almost through his whole body. We were talking about Madden. Sometimes there's like a glitch in the game.
That's a glitch, yeah. Look at that.
Oh. That's not really his game.
2nd and 7, and it's almost intercepted by Jalen Johnson. Amari Cooper turned into a Pro Bowl defensive back for a play and ripped it out of the hands of Johnson. There's Flacco to the right, looking in the end zone. Throws, jump ball. Njoku pulls it in for the touchdown.
Okay, so we had 2 opportunities to at least extend the game to 10-0, but because we didn't capitalize on any one of those 2 interceptions, they go down and score a touchdown and tie the game. So that's the first scenario. It happened early in the first quarter. Here's scenario number 2. We all know this one. Why didn't you kick the field goal?
Going to keep the offense on the field on 4th down. This is right at the range for Cairo Santos. They've got 4 seconds to go in a timeout.
You can't. Oh, man.
Nope, they're just going to air this one out. So they're going to turn down a long field goal try and go instead with a long Hail Mary to the end zone. The jump ball deflected around, and the pass is going to be intercepted.
All right. So that's what happened there. That was sequence 2. Now, sequence 3 is there was a point where the punt returner for the Bears muffs the ball. The Browns get the ball back. Flacco immediately throws an interception to Stevenson, and the Bears get the ball back and proceed on an 8-play drive, and they get down to 4th and 1.
This 4th quarter, remember, they didn't kick the 55-yarder at the end of the half, went for it on 4th and 4. Now they're going to go for it on 4th and 1. Play fake, Fields going to run, and he dives forward.
Oh, I don't know.
I think he's short.
A piece of Mitchell knifing through on the inside. Watch.
Oh,
Oh, he just tapped him a little bit, and he tried to put the ball in his left hand and dive for it. I think he's just a hair short.
The elbow is down, and based on that.
Okay, so clearly we know that he didn't make the first down, and clearly that was huge. And it was also, in my opinion, huge that he just didn't lob the ball to DJ Moore for an easy 6 points. But we'll talk about that more later. Here's the fourth and final sequence, and it's, of course, I think this is the one that Danny was referring to, 3rd down and 15. Let's send our big 325 defensive linemen to guard a tight end.
See if they get any more man-to-man.
3rd and 15. Flacco off his back foot. Njoku is there. He's got the first down and more. Spinning down the sidelines. The tight end inside the 20 before he's twisted out of bounds at the 19.
He's going to drift just slightly to the right at the very end and held on. This is almost identical to the game last week. They tried to bring 4-week pressure with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Joe Cool, as cool as the other side of the pillow, just floats away from it. Holds it.
All right.
You weren't kidding. This is just bringing back bad memories. And now I also need to listen to Mark Sanchez again on Sunday against the Cardinals. So sorry to deliver that news.
Oh my gosh, he is so bad in my opinion.
He's horrible.
Great looking guy, but man, the words that come out of his mouth. He needs a haircut and a brain transplant while he's at it. But anyway, Alyssa, why don't you give us your thoughts on those 4 sequences? And was there one that you could definitively say that was the play?
Yeah, I had 2 of those 4 definitely in my mind. I throw out the first 2 just because at that point it's before halftime, and this game, there's still plenty of game left to be played. But I think it was the 4th and 1 for me. Regardless of whether you wanted Chicago to go for it or if you wanted them to settle for what would have been a long Cairo Santos field goal, there were a couple of big plays that impacted the outcome of this game, but I'm not going to blame the defense for this one after they were the reason that the Bears were in this game to begin with and that they scored 7 of the 17 points. But that was a momentum shifter, that 4th and 1, the failed 4th and 1 conversion. It was literally the first play of the 4th quarter. And I knew as soon as the clock hit 0 in the 3rd quarter, I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. I wouldn't even say it out loud. I'm like, here we go. I know it's coming now. We'll see. And they didn't even give us a little acclimation period before they just became the 4th quarter Bears. And just that the entire sequence, I mean, it was the momentum shift for me. I mean, if Darnell Mooney would have just made that block, man, Fields is gone. And then like Aldo mentioned, we'll talk about too, he also had DJ Moore. I'm not even mad about the the play call itself, because I think that, whether he would have had DJ Moore or even if Mooney had made his block, Fields would have had that easily. So I'm not even mad about that. It's just the execution of it. And again, like Darnell Mooney and the whole situation, how it flipped the game. Because after that, it was Cleveland all the way. And it was the antithesis of the Matt Eberflus era. They fall apart in the 4th quarter. And I knew it. I knew it was coming. And I mean, I know the one Danny's going to talk about, and I definitely agree with it there, but I can't blame the defense for this. The offense was just absolutely atrocious. And I feel, though, that 4th and 1, like I said, the momentum, and that was it for me.
First of all, I'm very hurt that both you guys don't know me that well, because I also went with sequence number 3, Alyssa, just like you. That was the momentum shifter. That was right there, 17-7. Bears get that first down. And they're going to continue trickling down the football field, most likely. At least get another, get in field goal range. Maybe Eberflus' defense blows another lead. Who knows? But I think that just gave the Browns so much momentum. And then they went down and they got the field goal there, made it 17-10, and then they were within the score. I think that would just shift the whole game around. And in terms of the actual play and throwing it to DJ Moore, that play, this is where watching tape with context really matters. That was an RPO play. That was either give it to the running back or you keep it, Justin Fields. And he kept it. And that was a play. So if he goes ahead and he ad-libs and he tries to throw the ball, it's 4th and 1. Just get the 1 yard. So I'd rather him just go get that 1 yard. If that block is half an effort by Darnell Mooney to make that block, that's a first down. You throw the ball over to DJ Moore, you never know what happens. It could be dropped, and then next thing you know, everybody's like, oh, you had the first down. Go get the first down. So that was the play there. Now you're talking about ad-libbing. ad-libbing and going off the script. I know it looks like it's a clear touchdown here, but again, he's trying to get to that first down, trying to get outside wide enough. And I think that to me is a Darnell Mooney failure there to try and, and at least give a better effort on blocking. Now, Mooney says he was trying to block to spring DJ Moore open. So that was who he was trying to get. And then I guess Cameron Mitchell has made a great play. But again, that play, you get that first down there. I think that pretty much now you can matriculate down the field. Now you can go ahead and continue, putting some points on the board. And I think that finishes the game.
See, my problem is, and I also picked that play. It's that we have been praying for Justin Fields to build that killer mentality where he crushes opponents, where he protects leads, where he comes back from behind to win games and so forth. And that was a moment there. We could probably identify a half dozen moments this season where he just didn't do the play that a superstar quarterback does. Now, I'm not sending him away because of that. I'm just saying that if I'm his quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, I'm sitting down with him and I'm saying, we've taught you on these RPOs to keep your eyes downfield. You should have seen that all it took was a flick. You could have lobbed it up and DJ Moore would have easily run under it in stride and taken it all the way for a touchdown. These are the big plays we demand of you, Justin, that we expect from you, that we are coaching you to do. You cannot, all of a sudden take the entire – there's so many failed quarterbacks in this league because they try to take too much burden on themselves, and that's what he was doing there. He was trying to run for the first down when it was clear that the easiest and most productive option would have been to pass it to DJ Moore.
But if he tries to throw DJ Moore, if he overthrows him or DJ drops the ball, and then he's going to get reamed the next day in film study because he had opportunity to get a first down running the football, and instead he threw the ball and he went off script. And that's where players get reamed in front of the team for going off script because they say, if you just held onto the ball, get the first down, and then we'll move on from there. So that's the thing is like, and then we don't know if I don't know if this has been brought up after the game or if there's anything, that Justin's been asked about. Did he even look down and see DJ coming off? Because no, he's got a defender coming at him. He's trying to get the first down. So a couple of things. I haven't heard his defense on that. I don't know if we have anything on that, Aldo, if post game or anything like that.
No, unfortunately we don't.
At that point, he's going off script, and now if the ball's dropped or he throws it errant pass, no first down, ball turned over, and he gets reamed the next day in film study.
But if it's a run, if it's a run pass option, why would he get reamed if the option he chooses is throwing it to a wide open receiver?
I believe it was either give it to the running back or you run with it. I think that was the option on the run. If I remember correctly, post game how he explained it, you either give it to the running back or you take off with the ball. I think that's how it was explained to the media.
All right. Well, we'll have to look at that because to me, it just doesn't make any sense. Why send DJ Moore out there? I mean, I don't know. It's just I want a quarterback who is going to make these big plays. You know why? Because I've never had one in my life.
Man, you definitely have it.
He gets the first down. It's just the corner just made a play where he just touched his feet and he lost his balance and he went down. But 9 out of 10 times he gets that first down easily.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the kind of play that we expect Justin Fields to make. That's the kind of play that you're going to call in that circumstance because you know that he can get that and he has gotten that first down before. So just like we said before, Darnell Mooney, just like the effort. I feel bad saying this. I mentioned it before, but I got like Chase Claypool effort vibes from him in that game, and I didn't like it.
You want to get Chase Claypool? I look at George Pickens last week versus.
Oh my gosh,
Chase Claypool vibes right there.
Yeah, and somebody in the chat room brought up Mike Tomlin might be available. He would be great for the Bears. I disagree. I think Tomlin is at a point in his career where he needs to go to broadcasting or he needs a sabbatical. He needs to take some time away from the game because he's just not doing a good job with discipline, especially in those two wide receivers, Pickens and Deontay Johnson. Those guys are loafing. I mean, you talk about hits. They don't know anything at all about hits.
I'm surprised, although I thought you'd be all for Tomlin, the fiery, intense coach. But I tend to agree with you. I think I think coaches that how long has he been there? 15, 17? I don't remember how long he's been there.
Wow.
For a long time. I remember when he was hired, he was a baby face and young assistant, I think 33 years old. Look at him now with the beard and everything.
Job's wearing on him.
Yeah, it's like he's like he ran for president. You became president, you get all gray and everything, old. But anyway, yeah, although I agree with you.
Life after Ben Roethlisberger.
He's a great head coach. I think someone who's been there for so long, you need a little bit of a reprieve, just kind of get away. And look at Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher, the same thing. Everyone said he was going to step away and go on TV for a year or two. And you know what? He enjoyed TV better than coaching, and he ended up doing that for the rest of his life. So I think that's something that even though I would love a Mike Tomlin type head coach, but you're right, the Antonio Brown stuff, the George Pickens stuff now, there's other things that's happened there and that's been kept quiet by the Steelers organization. The inability to pick a good offensive coordinator, that's all been stuff that's been kind of, percolating there in Pittsburgh. I don't think they'll let him go, but I mean, I'm actually surprised by your answer. I'm surprised because you like those kind of coaches, Aldo. You want those fiery, no BS kind of coaches.
Yeah, Dan Campbell is rubbing off on me. I don't think he's the greatest strategic mind. What?
That's no problem, right?
That's right. But I don't think that, Campbell is the perfect coach, but I do like that fiery attitude, and also you need position coaches who bring some fire too. When those wide receivers are saying that they were getting complacent on the sideline, the wide receiver coach and all of the position coaches should be keeping their players focused on the game. That was one of the coolest things about Dan Campbell that I included in one of the preview videos, was that he was addressing the team, and it was at their final exhibition game, and he told the veterans, if I see you out there looking at the stands and waving the mom and so forth, I'm going to lose my shit, because you got to respect the players out there, that they're playing hard, they're trying to win spots, and I don't think we have that in Chicago and haven't had it for a long time.
With that complacent comment, and I don't know, and maybe someone followed up, but I haven't heard it. Like I would drill Mooney on that. Like are the players complacent? Is the staff, in terms of, is Getsy and his play calling complacent? Like I want to know what he meant by complacent. Because I don't think the players were complacent. I mean, they still were out there playing hard to from what I could see on TV, right? So right. I mean, is he throwing his teammates under the bus? Is he throwing his coaching staff under the bus? I wish someone had followed up and said, all right, who was complacent? Specifically, was it the play calling? Because I could see, and it's happened before, where Getsy has gotten conservative with a lead just to kind of hold on to the lead and let his defense kind of get, and then he's kind of gone into a shell. And then last minute says, oh, we got to throw the ball now. So it throws it three straight times. So that's the thing with Luke Getsy. It's just a game plan. And Coach T and I touched on it, post game. The first 15 scripted plays, whoever's helping him do that, or if he's on his own, they're good. He's in his bag, right? And then after that, he just loses his crap. He loses his mind, and especially when you put him under pressure to go ahead and get a first down or a big drive. I just think he doesn't know what to do, what to call. And it's like me going playing Madden and just scrolling through all the plays and picking a play out just randomly. I think that's what it is, and that's why I would love to have someone that's an innovative design play caller that knows how to do this and have him work with a quarterback like Justin Fields.
Is that too much to ask for? Like, really? We just want competent coaching in Chicago, but, as Bears fans, we know better. So let's go ahead and let's get back to last Sunday's game against the Browns. The Bears defense had another dominant performance against Cleveland, and they're the reason Chicago was in this game for a good while, and they scored most of their points. So I'm curious, what has impressed you the most about this defense since their turnaround? Aldo, let's start with you.
Well, when I was putting together clips for the show, it crystallized for me that third quarter of the Chicago Bears defense was probably one of the most perfect quarters, maybe the best quarter of football I've ever seen a Chicago Bears defense. And I'm going back to the Dick Butkus days. Yeah. They were pressuring Flacco. They were getting their hands on balls. They were just dominating, which is why this defeat was so emotional to me, because we really let down that defense. And Alyssa put it perfectly. I don't want to blame anything on the defense because they played so well, especially that third quarter. And so I do think, and I know we've been very critical of Eberflus, but it does appear that if he has the players that that defense calls for, then that defensive system can be effective. If he were to have Jervon Dexter at year 2 or year 3 playing that 3 tech, that defense would be even stronger. If he had another pass rushing defensive end outside of Montez Sweat, if he had a more experienced defensive back as opposed to Tyreek Stevenson, and if Eddie Jackson was the Eddie Jackson of old, this defense, which has been playing top 5, top 10 the last several weeks, could probably be top 1. And I don't think that's hyperbole. But he hasn't had the players, but we are seeing some very positive results. And so, I would challenge Danny, who has said this cover 2 defense is an old defense. It is an old defense, but there have been adjustments to it to make up for its deficiencies, particularly in the middle of the field.
Yeah, we've seen Eberflus do that with his pressure packages, whether it's, disguising his pressure, bringing the safety with his Brisker or bringing a nickel corner and like a Kyler Gordon or real effective is bringing that linebacker and TJ Edwards. And that's really helped him out here as well. So I think he's seen some alterations here to that cover 2, which is great. But for me, Aldo, it all comes down to finishing. And we've talked about it before ad nauseum here. 3 double-digit leads in the fourth quarter that they have let slip away. If you're going to be that defense that says we're a defensive unit team, we're going to lead this team to this team to victory, you got to get off the field. You got to protect those leads, and especially in the fourth quarter. And I think that the Broncos game was huge. Obviously, the Lions game in Detroit was huge, and then this game here. You get all 3 of those victories. You protect those leads. Guess what? What are you, 8-6? Is that what the record would be?
In the playoffs.
You're in the playoffs right now, right? So that's where it's like, all right, yeah, he got the defense playing well. They're one of the better run defenses in the NFL. But it's when it's crunch time, when it's time to get Joe Flacco, 39 years old, who just came off the couch 3 weeks ago, off the football field, missing his 4 starting offensive linemen, right? He came in missing 3 offensive starters, lost Joe Botonio in the first half. So he was, basically it was 1 starter and 4 backups versus Joe Flacco, and the Bears couldn't finish them in the fourth quarter with a 10-point lead. That to me doesn't tell me it's a great defense. It's better. It's better.
They definitely are. I think obviously we've seen them, how far they've come since from that first, even as far back as the first blown fourth quarter lead against the Broncos, and getting players back, going out and trading for Montez Sweat and just what his addition has done for this defense, especially as it comes to takeaways. It's just crazy what the Bears defense has been doing over the last few weeks there. I think overall in the league, they're tied for the 6th most takeaways, and they have the 2nd most interceptions this season, I believe, with 18. So I've just been really impressed by the growth from what we're seeing from them, and the fact that they've the impact. It's like, hey, look at what happens when you have a dominant edge rusher. It's like, oh yeah, it took you long enough to go out and get one, but it's good to know for the future of this defense, which I think could be seeing a new defensive coordinator next season, but the pieces are definitely in place. And speaking of that, of the takeaways, on Sunday, Chicago had 3 interceptions of Joe Flacco, and there could have been at least 2 more. That includes cornerback Jalen Johnson's near interception, which would have been his 5th on the season. So on Wednesday, Johnson told the media that if the team made him a good offer in the next few months, he would take it and forego free agency entirely. So should general manager Ryan Poles show him the money? Danny, what do you think?
I'm a Jalen Johnson fan, right? And I just don't know what the asking price is, right? So I mean, after he's sending some mixed signals, because I think it was after last week or 2 weeks ago, he said that his price tag has changed now, that he wants to be paid upper echelon, money, top cornerback money. And then this past week he said he a fair offer, he'll take it. So it's like he's moving the goalposts here a little bit, Jalen Johnson, that is. But like you mentioned, that would have been his 5th interception. I think he's actually dropped just as many interceptions as he has. So I mean, that's the thing with Jalen Johnson. If you want to be considered one of the top echelon and be paid one of the top echelon corners in the league, you're gonna have to make those interceptions. And a lot of these drops are in his hands. I mean, there's a couple pick sixes that I remember. That one in Cleveland, again, another one I believe a couple weeks ago as well. So if you start making these interceptions, Jalen, and you've been better this year. I mean, I think you've been playing at a high level, probably even a Pro Bowl level this year. But I think it's in terms of, your elevated play. You want that high money, you're going to have to go ahead and earn it. But for me, I'm a big Jalen Johnson fan. I think if you're going to pay someone on this defense, I think he's the one you go ahead and pay right now. So if you can, as long as he's not trying to break the bank and be a top tier echelon, because remember, if this defense stays, or if you bring in someone else that's running the same defense, it's all predicated on your front four, right? With Montez Sweat up there, with adding another guy, another dude in the middle, a defensive tackle, and adding a speed rusher opposite of Montez Sweat, that like all the touchdown, you can get away with a Terrell Smith back there at corner. You can get away with a Stevenson back there at corner. You can bring in, a veteran, a free agent on a low 1-year contract or 2-year contract. You can go get another one in the draft in day 2 of the draft. So you can bring in some guys that can compete there. You don't need to break the bank for these high-priced cornerbacks. So again, it's all predicated on what you do up front. But for me, if he wants to break the bank and be one of the higher paid corners in the league, I'm sorry, I'd franchise him and see if I can find a taker and get a high 2nd round pick back for him.
I think that if they can design the deal, I don't mind paying him $22 million if that's what he's asking. I've heard that number. I know that's a lot, and that's probably among the top cornerbacks. But if you can front load the deal and make it so that by year 3 of his deal, it's not a salary cap hindrance, because you're going to need money. Hopefully Justin Fields will remain, and you're going to need that to pay him those big bucks that he's going to demand in 2026. Starting with the 5th-year option in 2025, that's $20-some million. But, that's still not going to break the bank. But if he signs that $200 million contract, because he's playing like a superstar in the league, and we need $300 million to pay him, then paying a cornerback like Jalen Johnson has to be front loaded, and those last year, 2 years, 3 years of his deal, are reasonable $10 million a year kind of thing. There's ways to structure that, ways that I don't understand, but maybe Alyssa does. I don't know anything about contract negotiations.
Yeah. I'm not an expert in that department either, but no, I agree with you guys. I mean, I think at this point, I think the Bears need to re-sign him. They could have, Ryan Poles could have gotten a discount earlier before Jalen Johnson has started really outplaying his previous contract, probably on the table. So, I think that Ryan Poles should do whatever he can to make sure that Jalen Johnson does stay in Chicago, whether that is the franchise tag and take some time to work out a deal. But again, Jalen Johnson, he's made it clear he wants to stay in Chicago. He's trying to give Ryan Poles the opportunity to make sure that he has him locked down, because he's going to be in high demand in free agency if he does hit that open market. So I think what we've seen from Jalen Johnson, he's been one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL this season, really coming into his own as a ball hawker now. He does have some dropped ones, obviously, but just insane numbers for interceptions for him this year, considering what we've seen from him in the past. And, you have to start paying your good players, right, to stay. And we're starting to see Ryan Poles start to do that. So hopefully Jalen Johnson is the next one up.
Yeah. Oh, well. I'm going to talk Tremaine Edmonds.
Well, yes, let's go. Because I know we have been critical of Tremaine Edmonds on this show, but given his improved play over these past few weeks, is it time that we stop being so critical? Aldo, what do you think?
I think you should start with Danny, because he's the one that's been critical, not so much me.
Yeah, and it all comes down to, guys, is would I rather have Roquan Smith or Tremaine Edmonds? I think that's what I came down to. Now the money could be a little bit more for Roquan. I don't know that. I'm not, just like Aldo, I'm not a big cap guy. I don't know, but I think they're in a similar ballpark range, right? It's not too it's not extraordinary one way or the other. So I think if for the same amount, roughly same amount of money, I'd rather have Roquan Smith. Now, obviously, Roquan didn't do himself any favors by being his own agent and then coming out and talking about Ryan Poles and all that stuff, being traded and how he was treated and all that stuff. So I think that kind of ruffled some feathers up at Hallis Hall. And I think that might have precluded to his departure out of Chicago. But and just talking about strictly football players, for me, Roquan Smith is a better football player, more impactful linebacker than Tremaine Edmonds. Now, if you're going to tell me you can't have Roquan and TJ Edwards, you have to go the package of TJ Edwards, Edmonds, or Roquan. That's a different story, because TJ Edwards, obviously, I think he's a linebacker that's not. He's not athletic. He come out of the draft. Everyone was talking about this kid, being like a priority free agent. I watched his tape and I'm like, just like Jack Sanborn, he's a guy that's just, he doesn't have all the traits you want, but he knows his keys. He can read defense. He read offenses. He knows what to do. He knows where to be. Just a smart, heady linebacker. And I talked about earlier, he's probably their best blitzer in terms of coming through and providing, pressure on the quarterback. So I think if that's where we're going to lean towards, I think Edmonds has finally come around his play. I think that injury a couple of weeks ago kind of allowed him to kind of sit back and reset himself. So hopefully, for the remainder of his Chicago career, he is more productive. But I mean, because I know people in Buffalo that were ready to get rid of Tremaine Edmonds. I mean, a lot of his numbers were, kind of bloated with tackles behind the line of scrimmage, down the field. So I think a lot of people were ready to get rid of him. However, the thing we were told when they picked Edmonds over a guy like Roquan was the turnovers. This is a guy that would create turnovers, the interceptions because of his range and coverage and all that stuff. We hadn't seen that. We hadn't seen that up until recently. I think he's got like 3 or 4 interceptions within the last 3 or 4 weeks. So, and then this past week's interception, that was all TJ Edwards. Edwards knocked the hell out of the receiver. The ball bounced up. Edmonds caught it, and he ran it back for a pick 6. So that's the thing is like, if you're telling me Roquan versus Edmonds, I want Roquan, 7 days a week. But if you're telling me the package that you have to do of Edmonds and Edwards or Roquan, then I can see how they went. But I'm just not the biggest Edmonds fan.
Yeah, I like Tremaine Edmonds, and I excuse his first half of the season's performance to the fact that he was dinged up, missed all of preseason, got dinged up again during the regular season. And so there's been a ramp up period for him. And I think that we're starting to see that improved play and that he could potentially be a better option physically for this type of defense than Roquan is. This defense demands a middle linebacker who is long, has long arms, can get his hands on batted balls, can go sideline to sideline. And Roquan is good at all that stuff, but he's not quite the lean body that the Bears coaching staff desires for that position. I don't have a problem with that. It was a savings of money. Roquan didn't negotiate in good faith, on family day to send out a tweet saying, I want to be traded. I've told the Bears I want to be traded, and then denying it in interviews afterwards, the whole thing where he missed a game to London and stuff. So I just wonder, what kind of a teammate was he? Did Poles see that and decide, I'm not too anxious to re-sign this guy, especially for the kind of money that he's asking. So I think there was just some signs there that was an uncomfortable situation with Roquan as a member of the Bears. And I believe in Tremaine that he's going to get better and better.
But you've seen the missed tackles, right, on Edmonds. You're a big proponent of you hate missed tackles. And I just, a lot of missed tackles by Tremaine Edmonds. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I just wish that, coaches and players were more forthcoming about what, could be ailing them and therefore resulting in them missing tackles or dropping a pass or something like that. There are a lot of players out there who are playing at 70, 80, 90%. Because they got bruises on their thighs, a knee that's given out on them from time to time. I guess maybe I am making excuses for Tremaine, but we know he was injured in the beginning of the season. So,
I mean,
there's that lack of transparency.
I'm not complaining, right? I got a bad back. I'm doing a show.
That's right. That's right. Have you been taking care of that back, brother?
Well, I aches and pains. We don't talk about it.
Okay.
He's good. He's still giving us his best too. I agree. I mean, I definitely think Edmonds was hampered by injury heading into the season, and he's definitely starting to turn a corner. And we'll see, especially what happens this offseason. Is this going to be the same defense in place next year? Should be interesting to see that.
I think Alyssa, to that question, I think they've invested so much, and even if Poles makes a change at head coach, I think they would probably try to, because the personnel is now been, they've been drafting for 2 years now for a 4-3. Not saying it's out of the realm, but they'll go ahead and bring in a 3-4. But I think that what they'll probably do is prefer someone who runs a 4-3. But we'll see what happens if there's even a change.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. These last 3 games can be really important for that. And these final 3 games also going to be an important evaluation period for Justin Fields. While there were some big drops and some pass protection issues on Sunday against the Browns, Fields didn't have a good game. I'm curious, Danny, did Fields' errors on offense outweigh the poor play calling from Lugetzi? What do you think?
Well, I mean, so I saw the question and I was like, I was kind of wondering, like, because after the game, we were talking like, what, there wasn't any specific errors that could jump out of mind, unless you're talking about the DJ Moore play where we just talked about here on the 4th and 1. If you consider that an error, we could agree or disagree on that. It is what it is. But 2 interceptions were both Hail Marys. One shouldn't have counted. The other one should have been caught for a touchdown. So, I mean, there were a couple of throws where I know that the corner jumped, I believe it was DJ Moore. I couldn't really, in front of him, almost had an interception. So a couple of throws there. I just saw an offensive line that was being dominated by the defensive front for the Cleveland Browns. And he, I mean, even on the broadcast, I said that there isn't a time back there when he's dropping back that he's not getting someone in his face or getting pressure. We saw Khalil Herbert with a poor attempt at blocking a blitzer. The guy ran right through him and right to Justin. So I mean, the offense as a whole just looked like it was bad. But that first touchdown, that was all Justin. Because Myles Garrett had him, for a sack, and he was able to break free. And Myles Garrett, who ragdoll tossed, a 6'6", 315-pound Braxton Jones like he's nothing, missed him. So I mean that, and then Justin was able to get away, go out to his left, and throw a perfect strike to Cole Kmet for a touchdown. That was that perfect throw. Another one where he's rolling out to his right to Robert Tonyan. That Tonyan dropped. Whether that could have been a touchdown, if not, in worst case, they're in field goal range. So that right there is an opportunity for them to score more points. We talked about them passing up the field goal attempt at the end of the half. So I mean, there are some throws, some plays that Justin. There are a couple of nice back shoulder throws to DJ Moore. So I didn't see any glaring mistakes with Justin. I haven't seen the all 22 yet. I mean, I just saw the TV copy, but nothing in terms of glaring mistakes I saw earlier, right? Whereas the wide open receivers, he's looking at him, but just not pulling the trigger. I didn't see any of those, but I just saw basically an offensive line. Nate Davis probably played his worst game as a Bear so far to date. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, he was just, he couldn't stop Shelby Harris. He couldn't stop any of those interior defensive linemen for the Browns. So I thought overall offensively, DJ Moore was limping. You saw a couple of times him after the play kind of grimace. Obviously he wasn't 100%. So and in terms of Justin, again, going back, he took the checkdowns, didn't throw the ball in harm's way for the most part. So I just didn't see any glaring mistakes. I just saw an offense really that just struggled entirely, facing the number 1 defense in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it, Danny. I didn't really see a lot of mistakes either. After the game on our Bear Football show, I went off on the play caller, Luke Getsy, because I thought it was his worst play called game. He just, and perhaps it's because as I learned more about play calling from you and Greg Gabriel and Coach T and others, I'm starting to those mistakes that Luke Getsy makes are being more crystallized for me. The lack of setting up an opponent, the lack of sequencing plays in a way that makes sense, the mistakes with player personnel packages and putting Khalil Herbert in there to block on a play where you're going to throw and the defense is likely going to be blitzing, things like that. The guilty party here is definitely the coaching staff, and the game in Cleveland was the biggest of the 42-page indictment that we have for them.
I think it's fair to say the Bears in Cleveland just don't play well.
No, that's for sure.
No. Yeah, I agree with what you guys were saying too. I mean, looking at Fields, there were a couple of passes that probably should have been intercepted that Browns defenders just dropped, but you're going up against the top ranked defense in the NFL, and the pass protection was just brutal. I mean, and Fields didn't really, you look at his stat sheet and he had the 2 interceptions, but those were on Hail Mary. So technically he didn't really throw an interception in one of those game changing moments, like we've seen before in the past, but wasn't his best game. But considering going up against that defense and he wasn't helped out, still having nightmares about that Robert Tonyan dropped touchdown, just how it's frustrating because you look at Justin Fields and when he's doing what he should be doing, other guys aren't, and they're making those mistakes. And then it's like, then people are going to try to blame this on Fields. I don't want to hear it that this was on Fields. I mean, the offense as a whole really did struggle. I think they had 8 3-and-outs in this game, which is just insane. Their only touchdown of the game was courtesy of Eddie Jackson's interception return, setting them up on the 1 yard line. And even that was just what a series to punch that ball in from the 1 yard line.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely brutal.
Because just think, if you go back and look at this, if you, I know I don't like looking at stats, but just saying, like, he had 1 touchdown, two interceptions, right? If that interception is the first one is called an incomplete, which it was, or they go for a field goal, okay, and if that touchdown is caught by Tonyan, and then if that Hail Mary is caught by Mooney, that's 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. So now we had Justin had a great game. But I mean, that's the thing, is like, it's how it just differs so quickly with this kid. I just feel like everyone kind of picks every little mistake that happens, whether it's within the offense or he does or doesn't have anything to do with. And I think he's being unfairly like scrutinized and looked at. And I think just if you just get this kid time, and we talked about it, post game show as well, let him grow, let him develop, and get him a play caller. I think we have a kid here that you can saw the special talent he's got. That rolling to his left, jump pass to Tonyan, perfect throw. You saw the ability to get away from Myles Garrett and make that throw on a dime, flipping his hips, perfect accurate throw. I mean, he makes those wow moment plays that you just can't give up on talent like that.
There were a couple of passes, though, that he threw into the hands of Brown's cornerbacks.
Yeah, the one that Mooney was supposed to. He thought he was going, and then Justin thought he was going to sit, and that was.
Right.
And again, I just don't know why Mooney and him are not on the same page. These guys are like best friends off the field, and I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me why him and Mooney, can get on. But then DJ Moore comes here, and then all of a sudden him and Moore look like they've been playing together for years. That's just, I want that to be figured out. I don't know if I can ever get the answer to that, but that's what I want to know.
Do you think that there's any chance that the Bears would re-sign Darnell Mooney this offseason? Or do you think that this game sealed his fate?
Aldo, you want to go take it off first?
Yeah, I think Darnell is gone. I think this is a rich class in wide receivers. If you're going to sign Jalen, you're going to need that money that Darnell is going to demand. He's going to demand close to $10 million a year, and you can get a replacement who's probably better, at least fits the offense better, meaning an X receiver, a bigger body than Darnell Mooney. You need a bigger body opposite DJ Moore, and so I would say thank Darnell very much and let him find success somewhere else.
Yeah, for me, I think Darnell has played himself into a number 3 receiver on this roster, maybe even number 4, depending on the upgrades they bring in. But yeah, I mean, if he's willing to take number 3 money for like short-term 1 or 2 year deal, he might come back. But I think, like Aldo said, I think they're going to be coaches out there that see what he did in the previous years. And the other thing is to Darnell, and I think I was a little unfair to him after the post-game show. I think I said he was done. He was gone after the year. But I mean, remember, he's coming out. He's coming out. He's coming out. I say when I'm harsh. I come back and I do kind of try and sugarcoat it a little bit. But he's coming off I believe it was a broken ankle. He broke his ankle last year, so that was late in the season. So typically a lot of these injuries, it takes these athletes. He's healthy to play, but he's just not at top end speed. I think watching him, he's not the same in terms of his route running and his ability to cut on the dime and make. So I don't know if that's playing into effect. That might be something that next year, whether he's here or somewhere else, you'll see him making better plays and all that stuff. But he's a guy that's for a diminutive receiver. He's tough as heck. He's a guy who will go across the middle. Will make those tough catches. I just think that he's not fit in his offense right now as a number 2. Possibly number 3, good. He might go to like the team like the Rams or the Chiefs or something like that, where he gets get more opportunities and he could flourish and shine and turn that 1 year short-term deal into a more lucrative contract.
Yeah, even at the beginning of this season, I wasn't convinced that they were going to bring him back after this year. And like Aldo was talking about, having enough money to re-sign Jalen Johnson, that'll help. And you're in a prime position potentially if Carolina loses 2 more games to have that number 1 pick. If you're going to stick with Justin Fields, trade back, draft Marvin Harrison Jr., let's get the party started.
Yeah, I love it.
So that's going to do it for the first part of our Buffone's Basement. We're going to be right back where we are going to preview the Bears' Christmas Eve game against the Arizona Cardinals. We'll be right back.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a quarterback in the NFL? I have. The quarterback position is arguably the most difficult position in all of sports due to its physical and mental nature. Join me by watching me on this channel on my journey to become an NFL quarterback.
The best Chicago Bears content anywhere. Catch Nomad live pregame 1 hour prior to kickoff, and Nomad at night postgame, and every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Central on all the most popular streaming platforms, and only on the Nomad Network.
Welcome back to Buffone 55. Once again, I'm filling in for John, who is taking a little time off. But no time off for the Podfather, though, as he's going to get our discussion started about Chicago's upcoming opponent, the Arizona Cardinals, with his weekly video essay. Here's Aldo Gandia.
Last Sunday, the Cardinals lost their 11th game when they couldn't find a way to stop the formidable 49ers offense.
Wide open, Purdy to Samuel.
On some plays, it was difficult to find a Cardinals defender.
Wide open, McCaffrey gets up to run with it for the touchdown.
Head coach Jonathan Gannon pointed to his coaching staff.
How do you determine? Is it coaching? Is it the call? Is it?
Yeah, we got to make sure that. Yeah, we got to make sure we're coaching our guys to put their eyes in the right spot. Is those two plays.
Cardinals defense gave up 45 points and over 400 yards of offense to the Niners.
Touchdown, San Francisco!
For the season, the Cardinals allow an average of 359 yards per game, 25th in the NFL, and are next to last in points allowed.
You know, like always, there's a handful of things that when you lose a game like that are going wrong, from scheme to technique to all the little details. And right, there's a lot of different things that we need to get better at.
On offense against the 49ers, the Cardinals fought and showcased a very effective run game. They averaged 8 yards per carry for a total of 234 yards.
A huge gain for Cutter.
NFL Network's Brian Baldinger highlighted the run game in his popular X post, hashtagged Baldy's Breakdowns.
Figured out this weak side gut. Here's Tristan Colon and Froholt on the pull right here. All right, the trap, the kick out. McBride with the block. Froholt with the block, and here goes Michael Carter for 19 yards. It was so good, weak, that they ran gut strong right here. Excellent blocks all the way around. Hernandez, Froholt, Paris Johnson, and a down block. Here comes Hernandez with a block. Excellent job all the way around.
The three running backs on the team have drawn praise from offensive coordinator Drew Petzing for their versatility.
That's what makes that room dynamic. I think it's why you see all those guys in the game. The nice part to me is, to some extent, all three of them are pretty solid in every area, which is very unique. I mean, they've all shown up on third down. They've all made plays with the ball in their hand. They've all caught balls out of the backfield. So when you get three guys that can do it at the level those three guys are doing it, I think you put some stress on the defense, knowing that we're going to be able to keep them fresh. That nobody necessarily, obviously, James is going to get the majority of the reps, but if Michael or Amari jumps in there for 15, 20 snaps, there's not going to be a massive drop off in terms of what we're asking those guys to do and their ability to execute.
Quarterback Kyler Murray has played 5 games since his return from the ACL injury he suffered in December of last year.
Now launches it deep, middle of the field, into the end zone, and an over-the-shoulder catch by Rondale Moore for a touchdown.
He's thrown 4 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions in those 5 games, and it's obvious that he's still getting acclimated to the new offense installed by Petsy.
Intercepted. San Francisco gets the pick. It's Ward, high kicking it all the way. Touchdown, 49ers.
There's obviously every game there's a couple plays that you would love to have back, a couple throws that you would love to have back, or miscommunication between, one or two guys, whatever it may be. I think every quarterback watches the game, I could have did this better or done that. So,
making things more challenging for Murray this week could be the absence of receiver Hollywood Brown, who is hampered by a heel injury. But Murray is quickly developing a connection with second-year tight end Trey McBride, who leads the team in receptions.
Season he's put together, and the chemistry has been obvious between Murray and McBride. That's good for 11 yards and a first down.
Man, he's a high productive player for us. I mean, this guy's went like this the entire year. He's really playing extremely well right now.
Kyler's doing a great job of finding the open receivers, doing a great job of getting through his reads, things like that. Like I said, we're really close. We just need to tighten it up just a hair, and we're right there.
On defense, the pass rush has produced 13 different players with at least 1 sack.
Step deep drop, Jones steps up, runs, and sacked at the 43, Dennis Gardeck.
The team leader is a madman named Dennis Gardeck. He has 5 sacks and 12 quarterback hits. But the biggest takeaway about the Cardinals' defense is their inconsistency in the turnover battle. They're near the bottom of the league in takeaways. They had 0 last week, and yet, against the Texans in Week 11, they intercepted C.J. Stroud 3 times. Safety Jalen Thompson leads the team with 3 interceptions. The defense is sorely missing inside linebacker Kazir White, who tore a bicep against the Texans and is out for the season. Despite missing the last 3 games, he's still the team leader in tackles and tackles for loss. On special teams, punter Blake Gillikin has a big leg and the athletic ability to fake punts for big plays. Matt Prater is still hitting field goals from miles away.
Puts the leg into it and knocks it through.
The weather Sunday at Soldier Field is supposed to be about 43, 45 degrees, and there's a 60% chance of precipitation. But to me, the barometer of this game is how are the Bears going to play against this Cardinals team? And is it going to be a testament to they're improving their squad, or is it going to be further evidence that this team is in a circle of mediocrity? So we'll see. Let's bring everybody else in to comment on the Cardinals. What do you think?
Yeah, like you said, this is a game that I think that the Bears should win this game. They're the better of the two. Obviously, these are 2 teams that are contending for a top 3 draft pick right now. And then the Bears are top 5, obviously. So I think this is a game where you need to see the offense bounce back. This is has the potential, right? I think, Danny, did you call it? Was this the game where Fields has 300
passing yards and 100 rushing yards?
Yeah. So, looking for a big day for Justin Fields. So if you have him on your fantasy team or DJ Moore, start him. So yeah, I just think this is a game like Aldo said, that it's going to be a good barometer. If they lose this game, oh no, I think that would probably seal the deal for sure with Matt Eberflus, because you have to have this. You're the superior opponent. When you go out there and you play some of these better teams, and you're to the Lions, they should have won one of those. The Browns should have won that one last week, and I don't want to see them playing down to their opponent, which we've seen them do in the past, because we've seen them show up against some of these teams that just haven't been able to close it out. But I think that this game is one that they need to have and should have, which is crazy to say, because it feels like they're not mathematically eliminated yet, but it feels like the Bears aren't going to be contending for a playoff spot, barring some miraculous thing happening and everyone losing. But it's still important because in terms of Matt Eberflus, Justin Fields, and their future.
Yeah, for me, guys, this could be a real pivotal game, and obviously the draft position is key, right? It was top of mind for everyone. But I mean, like Aldo touched on earlier, he wanted to see how this team responds to Matt Eberflus the final 3 games, and I think this game, the Cardinals have only on 3 victories, but they fight, they play hard for those coaching staff, and there's a lot of factors in this game. There's the weather we talked about, Aldo talked about real quick. There's the Christmas Eve thing. There's coming off of another gut-wrenching loss for the Bears. And I think this is where Matt Eberflus and his staff are going to have to, really going to be tested here, because this Cardinals team, this defense will come after you. Jonathan Gannon was the defensive coordinator for the Eagles last year. They led the league in sacks. We saw what happens to the Eagles defense once he's gone now, right? Now, the Eagles defense, it's in shambles now. So this is an aggressive attacking front. They'll get after the quarterback. And that's the thing with Justin is this is a time where and Getsy, you have to be able to and you can beat the secondary. The secondary isn't that great. So if you can get Justin comfortable early on and getting some easy completions, getting the ball out of his hands, kind of, slowing the tide on that pass rush, I think then you can be able to hopefully get him out of the pocket, get him out in the open field, and I can see him use his legs here as well. So the weather's going to play a factor. Obviously, Arizona's indoor team coming out to play outside. And defensively, the Bears better be – obviously, the run defense, we're going to expect them to be able to shut down James Conner and company, but they better be gap, in terms of assignment gap, integrity, keep that there, because Kyler Murray can still bust, 20, 30 yard. He can beat you with his legs. And he's a, tiny quarterback. The way you beat tiny quarterbacks, you get pressure in their face. And if you get pressure in their face, and if those defensive ends aren't holding the edge, I have no questions about Montez Sweat holding that defensive edge, sending a hard edge. It's the other guys on the other end. Will they be able to do that? Because you let Kyler Murray sneak out of there, he can hurt you with his legs. And if it's a young team, they get some confidence going. They're on the road and they get a couple points here and early, and the Bears start pressing. You could see the Bears losing this game, and then that like you said, Alyssa, that should be the nail in the coffin and Matt Eberflus and the staff.
Yeah, I agree with Danny. I'm a little concerned when I was doing the research for the video. I noted that there were 13 different players who have gotten sacks with this team, and so that speaks to Danny's theory that they're going to come from all over the place. And these are the types of defenses the Bears have really had problems with against the Minnesota Vikings, in Chicago, where Justin didn't do a good job at making changes at the line to pick blitzes up, or the offensive line screwed up. There was just a total nightmare. And one of the cool things about listening to the head coach of the Cardinals, he kept over and over again, when reporters were asking him, what happened here, he always blamed the coaches. We got to do a better job of coaching that up. We got to do a better, and it's unlike what's going on in Chicago right now. So I just feel like this Cardinals team, forget about the record, because Kyler Murray's only been back for 5 games. This is a totally different team with him. And if their number 1 receiver, Hollywood Brown, plays, it could be a long day for Justin Fields having to run around from these blitzes and for explosive plays by this Arizona Cardinals offense. And so I'm a little bit worried about this, and I really, really would love to see them win, because we all of us as fans need a promise. Let's get a nice 3-game winning streak here, please.
And Tevin Jenkins is still in concussion protocol, so you might be missing him. So you've got Whitehair in there, so that could be a key component on the offensive line. Missing, and facing an aggressive scheme design defense there as well. So this could be a game where the Bears could lose. But if you put Justin, I think he'll be able to beat that secondary. That's the thing.
Yeah, for sure. And Danny, like you'd mentioned before, this is a game that could have draft implications. And because we have just 3 games left in this season, which is crazy considering how quickly that it's gone and all of the ups and downs, mostly downs, that Bears fans have had to go through. But if the Bears beat the Cardinals, it could hurt their chances for that number 1 pick, especially if the Panthers win. But if they lose 2 of these final 3 games, that should be it and be enough for the Bears to get that number 1 pick. But my question is, does it even matter? Does it even matter if the Bears beat the Cardinals and that hurts their draft stock at all?
Oh, man.
Well,
I don't care. I want to win. I don't care if we're drafting out of the top 5. It shouldn't matter. It's victory time. There's, and the players don't give a shit about where we're drafting. These players all want to win for their pride, for their resume, for their tape, for future jobs and stuff. So, I know a lot of us fans want us to tank. I don't live by that credo.
Well, the great news is for you, Aldo, is the Bears can go ahead and play hard and win. They don't need to tank. It's Carolina that's got to have to tank. So as long as Carolina, and they're playing the Packers this week, so as long as Carolina loses, I think, even the Bears win, I mean, yeah, they'll hurt their pick to probably jump out of the top 5, but still, it's Carolina's doing the tanking for the Bears. So I think that's the sweet part here, where that's one of the reasons why last week's show, John, Alyssa, and I were all kind of like, all right, if we get Cleveland, then you can go ahead and start looking at some winnable games here. But that big loss to Cleveland, we talked about earlier, the players kind of throwing some stuff out there about the coaching staff. That could be something where this could be a test for Eberflus and for the staff. If the Bears come out and fall flat on their face and the Cardinals come out of here with a victory, that to me is a big indictment on the head coach. And I think that's something that should be and it could be taken into effect.
Yeah, like Danny said, we don't have to root or for the Bears to tank here, because the Panthers are doing that for us. So they need to just lose 2 more and we're good to go. And this is a game where I still feel like even if they lose, I'm still going to be mad about it, because I feel like they should beat the Cardinals. But then at the same time, it would help their own draft pick that could get even better. I know the Commanders have an extra loss on them, but I mean, I'm not really worried about that, because we're lucky that the Bears have the Carolina Panthers pick. And I'm not going to say I'm rooting for the Packers this week. I will say I'm rooting against the Panthers more.
I'm rooting for the Packers. I'm going to admit it.
It's okay.
I would never say that outright.
When I was running the NFC North Barroom, I bought a beer mug of every one of the NFC North teams. If the Bears win and the Packers win on Sunday, I'm going to drink. I'm going to do on the Bear Football Show. I'll do a toast from a Packers mug because I'll be so grateful.
Oh, no.
Wait, aren't you supposed to be at your sister-in-law's on Christmas Eve watching? She won't let you watch football. So how are you going to do this?
You're right. I'll just shoot a video and put it on social media. That'll really get me in hot water with fans.
Oh no! Once you put it out there, although it's there forever.
Yeah. I forgot we're not doing the show this weekend. So either way, I'll be watching the game here at home, and then I'm going to my sister-in-law who doesn't want the football game on during the holidays.
Okay, guys. So we're gonna finish the show with this. It is the holiday season. Christmas is just around the corner. The Bears are going to be playing on Christmas Eve. We're all going to be trying to watch that while avoiding some family time or try to work our way around that. But we thought it would be fun to hand out presents to Bears players, coaches, or front office staff. And I'm going to go first. And I took the easy one. Is it too easy to say that I'd give Jalen Johnson a contract extension? I think that Johnson has made it clear that he wants to stay in Chicago, and that if they do make him a good offer, what he's looking for in the next few months, he's not going to even consider free agency, which I think would be a big win. He's been one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL this season, just period. He's always been a great cover corner, but we're starting to see his ability to get those interceptions now. And when you look at this dominant Bears defense and where they're at now and looking to the future, he's someone that I want to still be on this team and in this defense. But yeah, I have a bonus that I'll share afterwards, but I want to hear what you guys have to think. Who would like to go next? Who has a gift? Aldo, you look like you have a gift ready.
Yeah, actually, I got a little animation too that I want to share.
Love it, man. We should have let off with that, man.
We should have. Yeah. See, so here's the thing. I was thinking about, should I do something funny, like get a real estate agent for Matt Eberflus, moving company, pay for the moving company for the Luke Getzey and stuff. But I'm going to make it serious. And so really, and I know I'm going to sound corny here, but I really do mean this from the bottom of my heart. I have a lot of respect for everyone that plays this incredibly violent game of professional football. And so I hope that all the players, are safe throughout the holiday season. There's no more serious injuries. Obviously you're going to get nicks and stuff in the game of football, but for every person that goes out there on Sundays and plays football for our entertainment, I wish them nothing but the best for their own health and the health of their family.
That's very nice of you, Aldo, on this giving season. See, I'm going to follow up, and I'm going to sound like the Grinch here, but anyway, I'm going to follow up there. I was thinking of going, funny as well, like giving the Bears HR or IT department a nice blocker to block Pornhub from the coaches, like that. But I'm like, it's a holiday season. I'm just going to be nice, right? So I'm going to go ahead and give my guy Justin Fields a gift. I'm going to give him a creative, innovative, young, aggressive play caller that can come in here and take a look at his kid's talents and take a look at all what he can do with the football, without the football, his ability to make every single throw on the football field. He'll be able to elude pressure, get away from pressure, use his legs as a weapon. With DJ Moore on the outside, hopefully, Marvin Harrison Jr. on the opposite there with a Cole Kmet, another tight end to kind of offset Cole Kmet, a loaded backfield, and a young developing offensive line. I want a young, innovative offensive mind. Who that is, I don't know. But the example that I want is a Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen is the current Indianapolis head coach, right? And he was the offensive coordinator for the Chargers when Justin Herbert came in. Totally different type of quarterback, pocket passer, big guy. And he developed Justin Herbert. Went over to Philadelphia, different type of quarterback. Jalen Hurts built an offense around him, and they had huge numbers. Went to the Super Bowl. He left. Look what happened to Jalen Hurts this year. Jalen Hurts can't even complete over 150 yards passing now without Shane Steichen calling the plays for him. He goes to Indianapolis, drafts a raw but super talented rookie in Anthony Richardson. Says he's going to be my starter. And they were productive. Anthony Richardson was using his legs. He was kind of working that offense around Anthony Richardson. He gets hurt. He's out for the year. Brings in Gardner Minshew, a career backup, a pocket passer, and he's built the offense around Gardner Minshew. That's what I'm talking about. Who that is, whether it's Ben Johnson or it's somebody else on another staff that we don't know about, but someone that can come in and take Justin Fields and his talents and build around him and build a system that puts him in the best position to succeed, along with DJ Moore. Like I said, some more upgrades on the outside, a receiver, another flex tight end to offset Cole Kmet, and a running game, and a developing young offensive line. That's what I want to see. That's the Christmas gift that I would wish for Justin Fields.
Put my name. Put my name on that from list. Danny, Alyssa, and Aldo.
Plus, the Carolina Panthers are hopefully about to gift wrap the Bears the number 1 pick too. So let's hope that is to come in the next few weeks. But that is going to do it for this edition of Buffone 55. We can't wait to welcome John back. But thank you all for joining us, and we hope that you have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and hopefully the Bears go out and get a win on Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. I just got this picture via text of Matt Eberflus and his Christmas tree. Oh, poor guy. I feel so bad for him. Anyways, happy holidays, everybody.
Bye, guys.